Yes, international break, so obviously low numbers. Still pleased with the way the guys have worked. There's been a good mentality. Certainly, from the team standpoint, the effort and the result against Sporting Kansas City was important, and we continue to try to build on that. And we know we have a really important game on Sunday night.
Thanks. Hi, Bob. First off, I wanted to ask you about the players that were out on international duty. I know they had a game yesterday, some of them. So what's the plan with them? Some, I don't know, Moon and I forgot who the other one. They're back.
Well, Moon is back already. So he was in training yesterday and today. And then Sifu, Cheeky, and Brian will return late tonight. And then we'll see. Actually, let me change that. Sifu and Cheeky return late tonight, and we'll see how they are in the morning. Brian will return a little bit later. We're still trying to finalize the details of his return trip.
And then in general, you mentioned how important the last result was in building on those things. What were some of the positive things that you saw that you wish the team can keep on doing to close the season strong?
A few things that were positive. I think we did a good job of mixing up the right moments to press with other moments of being organized in more of a mid-block. We had some good transition moments. Very pleased, obviously, with the set piece goals. And I thought the overall mentality of the group for 90 minutes was strong.
All right, thank you. Go ahead. Let's go next to Andy. Go ahead, Andy Diosa.
Hey, Bob, how's it going?
Good, thanks.
Bob, just wanted a quick injury update, or if you have a timeline at all for Tristan and for Carlos Vela.
Carlos, not in training. As I've mentioned a few times, we are trying to be very careful with everything with this quad. And I would say that it still will require some time. So it's not a day-to-day situation. It's more week to week. Tristan with the adductor, also not in training. We would be hopeful that he is perhaps ready in the next week to 10 days.
All right, thanks. And Salvador. Go ahead, Salvador.
Thank you. Hi, Bob. How are you?
Good, Salvador.
Good. Nice to see you. Bob, we know all the results and all that happened with this LAFC. But just want to ask you, the international duty, and all the time that you have with LAFC, which can be the key for the return on MLS to get more results. We know that happened in the last match for LAFC. What can serve this international duty? Thank you.
I don't think I fully understood your question. I think if I understood it right, that you're talking about the challenge when players go away on international duty. And for sure, we have supported all the players. We knew from the start that when we have some talented players, it's important for them to play for the national team. It's great experience, and it's certainly an honor in everyone's career. We work always with the league. The schedule then gets put out, and then we see whether or not we have games. So we did have a game when some players are away. Other times we don't play in the international windows. That's not always a consistent thing in MLS scheduling. For me, I would always think that this has to be consistent. When the league has more and more players playing with their national teams, I think that we need to understand then the importance of scheduling. But we continue to try to keep the other players sharp, and then when they return, we try to we of course follow the games, we watch the games. When they get back, we check on how they are physically. Our performance people are in touch with each national team before they arrive, so we have data on their training loads and what they've done in the games, and then we use all of that to figure out how to bring them back into the team.
And to ask you about the evolution of Christian Torres, about Bryce Duke, about Alvaro Quesada, about Tony Leone, and also the case of Russell McMurray with this AFC and also with Las Vegas Lights. Thank you.
Yeah, that's quite a list you just threw out. I think all of those guys are in slightly different spots. Bryce played really well against Kansas City. I think that we have seen the progress, and that the combination of training with the first team, playing matches with Las Vegas, has helped him grow as a player, and we see some of that with the first team. For both Tony and for Christian, this has been a year more of training and playing the games with Las Vegas. I've mentioned a few times how Christian started the season with some knee issues, and so it's been important to continue to develop him. Those two had good experience with the Mexico under-20 team. Bruce arrived still where he hadn't been playing regularly, so it took a while in terms of his fitness. His minutes in Vegas are important, and we hope to see that work in the same way as a player like Bryce in the future. Who'd I miss?
Not anyone. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Hey Bob, I got two quick ones. It's first of all good to see you. Big game this weekend. You guys going out against RSL. They currently sit in 7th. I know you know that, and obviously you guys are in 9th. How big is it for you guys to get a result against this team this Saturday or this Sunday?
Yeah, from here on out, every game's big. I mean, when people talk about 6-point games, of course they mean games against teams in your conference where you're close in the standings, and it's not only the 3 points that you fight for, but it's making sure the other team doesn't take 3 points. So we'll have a number of those games, and RSL fits directly in that category.
Bob, I know you're focused on the season and what's going on, but it's been reported that you're in a contract year. This may be a rhetorical question, but would you like to come back and coach LAFC next year?
I'm concentrated only on every day in training, every game. That's it. At the end, it's always the same in football when you're a manager. At the end of every season, there's discussions. So whether you're out of contract or not, you get to the end of the season and everybody looks at each other and looks at the project and has discussions, and things go from there. So there's no time for any of that while the season's going on, and we have a lot always this. If I look at everything that's gone on, really since the Lyon game at home, it's been so much work to try to keep everybody engaged, players, staff, making sure that as we went through periods, individual training, small group training, MLS is back, Champions League, so much of what's gone on this year. We've been challenged at times where we've not had consistent lineups. The ability to make sure everybody shows up every day, excited, trying to get better, understanding what we're trying to do as a team. That's the work every day, and I never ever get away from that. I appreciate the responsibility that I have to make sure that everybody stays on board and that guys are excited about the football every day in training, trying to understand a little bit better how they can improve. So that's the focus every single day.
With what kind of message do you give the guys that get to play because of the essence of the players on the international window? They respond pretty well on Friday. So what kind of approach do you give to them when they have the opportunity to play when they don't do that very often?
Yeah, there's all different cases, but when you prepare a team and guys know that there are going to be opportunities, and you work hard so they're ready for the moment. It's always a good thing, and when guys play well. So certain guys stepped up in the last game. I think we saw good performances. I mentioned Bryce. I thought it was an improved game from Pancho. Raheem gave us good, strong effort. I was very happy with Latif playing on the right side. So for me, there are things like that you see. Sebastian Ibiaga gives us a really solid game on the right side of three in the back. So you make sure those guys know that the work has paid off, and now let's see if we can keep going with the whole thing.
And a quick one for me. There is the proposition of having a World Cup every 2 years. It seems that the calendar that is already very overwhelmed is going to be a little bit more. What are your thoughts on having a World Cup every 2 years?
I need more information. I know it's out there. I know that there's a group of people in Qatar right now, led by Arsene Wenger. I'll read more and then try to understand it. I do worry that when they work on calendars, it usually just involves more games. And obviously, you see the top players physically getting pushed to their limit and past their limit. And one of the things that you've always heard me talk about is just how important the quality of the games are. That when you have good players, that you are thinking about them, their careers, keeping them on the field so that the fans can appreciate what those players bring all the time. So I think it has to all be weighed very carefully.
Thank you, Seth. Hey, Bob, a quick question about Mamadou and Bright. And how many positions you think they could play in their area? Obviously, Mamadou is you have a center back who has the tools he has. Do you see maybe a pinch the way he has the ability to play the ball, that he can play maybe a wider defensive position? And with Bryce, infield positions you think he could project, and does that help them in their overall ability to make a starting 11?
We see Fall mainly as a central defender, and so whether you play with back four and he's one of the two central defenders, or whether you play with three, he could play any of the roles in the three. Occasionally in training he's played wider. He might have something going forward, but I don't think that he's as comfortable out wide yet. And I think when you look around the world, still young center backs that can play the ball, athletically can deal with the different situations. I think we're very fortunate to have a young defender like Fall, because I think he's got great starting points. Bryce in the midfield, yes, at different moments he's tried. We've put him in different spots in the midfield, trying to see if we can develop his all-round game. It depends on how your team plays, but I think for the most part this year he has been more of an 8, or occasionally even a little closer to the front, to the attackers. So you could say perhaps at times closer to the role of a 10. My most important thought with Bryce is just his maturity as a player, seeing things faster, thinking faster. He's a skillful player, but knowing how to use his skill in ways that are better for the team. And then, making sure that he understands that he still has responsibilities defensively. That may not mean that we're asking him to track back into our box all the time, but his ability in different situations, if he's close to the ball, to be the first defender and help us initiate a press, his ability in other moments to react fast and get to a loose ball or win a ball. So I think we continue to try to find the ways to challenge Bryce, to develop his understanding of the game and just continue to mature and grow in the way that he plays. And then I think that'll determine the spots that he can play. He's not anywhere near the kind of player that, say, Kimmich is for Bayern Munich, but there's an example of a young player that with different coaches has played different roles. Pep used Kimmich as a central defender. He's played as a 6. I've seen him play a little bit higher. He's played as a right back. And anybody who's been around him talks about his understanding of the game, how smart he is. So sometimes we'll use that as an example for Bryce, not because we think he's an exact same player, but because the better job that we can do developing his understanding of situations and his ability to think on the field, I think that's going to help him really grow as a player, and we've seen signs of that lately.